Here we have problem 1.1.24, and we're asked to graph the equation y equals -2 times the absolute value of x plus 4 plus 8. So I'm going to look at each one of these pieces and determine, kind of what happens in my graph and then select one of these options. The nice thing is I'm not starting from scratch. I do have some graphs to select. So first thing I look at is this negative. Right? That negative is going to tell me that my graph is going to reflect over the x-axis. So what that means is my graph normally looks like an absolute value, kind of like that V. It's going to be flipped upside down. All right, so it's going to be more like an A shape than a V shape. This 2 tells me that my graph is going to be stretched. All right, so it's going to be stretched by a factor of 2, which means it's going to kind of be, it's going to look like it's getting pulled longer. Rather than being this normal curve, it's going to go from there, and it's going to look a little bit more narrow. All right, because we're trying to make it taller. The plus 4 tells me that it's going to go left 4. Remember that inside that's going to be backward, so plus actually means left, minus actually means right. And then finally this plus 8, this is the easy one. This tells me it's going to go up 8 places. Now the left and up, we're talking from our parent function. So our parent function's vertex is right at the origin. So we're asking ourselves, all right, this origin, that vertex, is going to go left 4, and it's going to go up 8. So my graph, quick sketch, it's going to go left, it's going to go up, it's going to be reflected and stretched. So it's going to look something like this blue graph here. All right. Again, my intercepts might not be exact, but it should look something like that. Looking at options A, B, C, and D, B and C I can eliminate because they are not reflected. A and D are my choices for, hey, what's going to happen here? It went left, it went up, it's reflected. It's really tough to tell based on kind of the eye test on whether it's being stretched, compressed, or it's just looking normal. To me, D does look a little more stretched than A, so I'm going to kind of look at this one to start and then determine something from there. If you need to be specific, one of the good things you can do is you can test some values. So I'm going to take y equals -2, and in place of x, I'm going to plug in the number 0. And I'm going to see if that 0 gives me a y value that matches up with my graph. And that graph has 0, 0. So I want to know, does x equal 0 give me a y value of 0? Right, because I can test this. This is going to say, hey, this graph could be pretty accurate. So y equals -2, absolute value of 4 plus 8. Y equals -2 times 4 plus 8. Y equals -8 plus 8, which is going to be 0. All right, so that's what I was looking for. So that tells me that most likely this graph is going to be good. So I'm going to zoom back out here. I'm going to select option D in this case. I'll check my answer, and I got it correct. So if you're ever unsure and they give you the graphs, test some points. All right, plug in some x values and see if those points match up your function. Next, we're going to look at x and y intercepts. This is really easy because we already have the graph. Our x-intercepts, they're going to cross the x-axis, right? So where does my graph cross the x-axis? Well, it crosses at 0. So we have 0, 0. And then the other point, if I go to the left, looks like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Looks like 8 places. So that would be -8. 0 would be my x-intercept. My y-intercept, all right, where do I cross the y-axis? Well, 0, 0. All right, we already talked about that one. It just happens to be that the x-intercept and y-intercept will be the same at the origin. So fill those in. They're looking for the coordinate points, so make sure you use the parentheses and a comma in between the x-intercepts. Otherwise, it's going to mark it wrong. So going back to the original part, we were reflection. That negative tells us there's a reflection. Let's highlight some of this here. That negative told us there was reflection. The 2 made it stretch, so it's going to look like it's longer or taller. The 4 went left, and the +8 caused it to go up. So draw yourself a little sketch and then find a graph that matches up with what you were looking at.